It's totally not like 10 minutes after the first video, and I just put on a sweater. That was a mistake. I thought maybe I would try to change and make it look like it was not taken immediately after, but ladies and gentlemen, it was. This shirt very much feels small, actually, so that's less good. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Exercise is making me break my clothes. But alas, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our podcast, which is a solo podcast. Oh shit, should be good. Sorry. Solo podcast where yours truly is basically trying to give you guys this world to play around with in your mind when you're bored at work, or when maybe you're just like, you know what, I really like writing and I need a jumping off point, and maybe I want to do something like this with this. And for those of you who are saying stuff like what do you call it, like, Grin, these aren't half bad, you should just write them down because other people are going to steal your idea. Well, fuck it, I write the same story. People can steal the idea. It's like, to me, I have thousands of these. Secondly, I'm not very good at writing. I just doesn't quite translate really well. Like, I'm not really good at reading either. So that's kind of the whole thing. I'm good at like coming up with worlds and like scenes and like, I think, interesting things sometimes. But not that so much. But anyway, we may talk about that in another, because this is a podcast. We don't have to constantly talk about it. We might take some times where we diverge, but for the time being, I really want to just hammer this world home. So we left off last time with our main character being turned into a goddamn werewolf and running rampant. And then our other character, basically still a main character, turned into a demon. And has only one trait of being a demon, which means he's a bad bitch, but he's restricted in a way because of course we're doing that. We gotta neutralize power somehow. Also, I'm inspired by something that I just watched currently. Anyways, but yeah, he basically, he got out of the craziness that was that party of everyone mutating, and it was just not a good situation because everyone's just like screaming and he's freaking out. He's like, this is fucked, I'm leaving. I don't give a fuck about any of my friends, right? Because they're not friends. Again, they're not like that. He's friendly, but he's not friends with them, you know? They've done nothing for him besides say, hey, do you want to come to this party? You dress real nice, I guess. But yeah, that's a trait that he has as well. I'm not sure if I hammered that home too much, but it's very much inspired by the character from Good Omens. Remembered the name just now. But he's very much like a well-dressed person, but he's trapped in the past, so even his suits are kind of old-looking. Like in Good Omens, but he has style. He has very much style, whereas our main character kind of just wears whatever. He's kind of based on me, if you could. I wear whatever. This is not like style based. There's nothing on here. It's just a fitted shirt, and yeah. Also, man, talking for an hour non-stop. Well, we do that all the time, but this is different because I'm like trying to make sure I get stuff said properly. Okay, so again, the reason why we have this downtime is because I want other people to have downtime as well. So the reason why our main character is just blitzkrieging is because he's a werewolf. And when you're in the wolf form, we'll get into like, I don't want to get into it just yet because our main characters don't know anything yet. So I don't want to tell you guys much yet about their stuff. But basically, very few transformations have that. It's exclusive for some of the strongest, but also some of the most mindless. And anything that is a were whatever, because there's anything in this world, there's were bears, there's were whatever. Were bear specifically, there's a fucking person that's gonna come into the party eventually. But one of the things they have a huge challenge with is control. Like when you, if you do have a thing where you transform into something powerful, like really powerful. Then you have a huge, a bad start when it comes to controlling that thing. So anyways, I wanted our main character to get to the place where he needs to be faster. So that's why we're doing it. But the wolf is pissed a little bit because of a certain necromancer that's plucking some strings to fuck with him. Anyways, so I wanted time to pass. So of course, our demon guy, he's left the room. He's got a couple feet in front of him, and then he just flat out boom and falls on his face. And also, our main character, the wolf, he's running rampant. So he's running rampant, and then the dude passes out. Everyone in the kind of world has transformed at this point. Boom. And just for like serenity's sake, let's just say it, like, despite time difference, let's just say they all became the thing that they were going to dress up as, because fuck. It's just like, I just realized that's a whole thing. Anyways, the deity god's gonna be like, all right, bitch, you don't get a pass just because this guy got changed and you didn't. Okay. Anyways. So yes, the main character's running rampant still. This guy passes out, wakes up, and that the amount of time has passed that everyone has transformed, but it's still night. So let's say, I don't know, everyone's transformed in an hour, and that's why if you dressed up as something really, really strong, you're probably dead because your body can't handle that strength unless you have the will to survive, the will to live, the understanding of to play into your monster, which is rare. But then honestly, I only mention that because that's the only reason our main character survived, is because he's like, hey, they're gonna rip me apart unless I make sure to feed the wolf, which the moon is what they feed off of. Any were creature in this world, at least for me, feeds off of the moon, and we'll get to that at a certain point. Because yes, our main character talks to the deity god, and let's not get into it. Anyways, just yeah, it happens a long time, like at part 3 probably. Anyways, yeah. So yes, sorry. The main characters, what we're running about, the secondary character has just woken up, and everyone's kind of stumbling around in their newfound monster skin. So anyways, the main character kind of stumbles up. He feels weird. He feels like this kind of weird heat pushing off of him almost, but not like heat. It's almost like that feeling, like when you're outside and you're in the cold and then you feel like heat escaping you. That's kind of what he's feeling. Anyways, he stumbles into the bathroom because he was in the hall. Because he left the party, he was like, fuck off, everybody. So he went to the bathroom, threw some water in his face, and then he looks in the mirror, and he sees that his eyes are like full, like those contacts that his classmate gave him to enhance his monsterness, are stuck in his eyes, which he kind of already knew, because like in the last part I said he's seen punch fell on the floor, and he's seen that reflection of his eyes, and he tried to get them out because his eyes were burning. Anyways, he goes forth in the bathroom, sees it, and he's like, okay, well shit, something's wrong. This is not good. I don't feel right. Anyways, he kind of starts backing up and stumbles out of the bathroom. Yeah, I'm gonna invite you guys to this one because I haven't thought about this just yet. But I basically want to show he needs to see what he is. He needs to understand what he is pretty well. I haven't really given much thought to it, honestly. But let's say he leaves the bathroom, and something just starts bulldozing down the hallway. And pushes him and knocks him on his ass really hard. It could be a ghost. It could be like a Frankenstein chick who just was like, shouldn't have really painted my face green and done the stupid hair and done the things in my neck, and really was trying to make fun of Frankenstein because now I look like a freak and I'm super square and whereas there may be some other characters that dress up like Frankenstein but glorified and they look great. Anyways, maybe it's like a were something. I don't want to say werewolf because let's not say werewolves are just fucking evil in this world by virtue. Regardless, something crashes against him and throws him, and he smacks it, and he gets smashed into the wall, and he gets a slice on his face, and he's like, oh shit. And he kind of stumbles too, and one of the girls that gave him the contacts run up to him, and she says, are you okay? She's like, you're bleeding. And he goes to touch his face and he wipes it off. And then he's like, great. And like, this is awesome. I'm bleeding. But then she says, wait, it's gone. So then he goes and he looks and he doesn't feel any cut or any pain on his face. And he's like, what's going on? And he looks at her and she says, come back into the room. And he's like, fuck that. I'm not going back in the room. You're crazy. A bunch of people are going like turning into fucking gross things. Like, what do you call it? Eddie or whoever, one of his classmates, his arm was like 4 times the size of his other arm. And she's like, no, come look. It's like, it's crazy. So then they peek in, and they see that everyone's like these just amalgamations of these monsters. And they're like, and he's kind of like, what the fuck? Like, there has to be a rational explanation for all this. Anyways, let's accelerate a little bit here because I don't want to dwell too much on this because this is stuff that you'd like iron out if you were writing a story, which sure we'll do with certain things, but this is something that I want to come back to if anything, but maybe not even necessary because I want to get to the point where we can really start building off of stuff faster. Anyways, so yes, he sees that, he's like, oh shit, okay. And let's say, I haven't given this much thought either. This part is weird, because to me, I really just wanted to get to the friendship part, so I kind of just was like, they meet up after the one dude gets shunned. So we're kind of trying to build that shunning effect right now. Anyway, so then let's say she's a cat. She dressed up as like a cute kitty. So bang. They peek into the thing, they say, what's happening? And it's like, I don't know. Man, I can smell everything she says. And he's like, wait, do you have fucking ears? What's going on? And then they build off of that, sure. And then they're like, okay, wait, so you're a cat. John actually looks like a better Jason. What's going on? Or whatever I said, Nico, I don't fucking know. Regardless, yes. So basically they come to the realization of, okay, well, we all look like better versions of the things we were dressed up as. This is scary because, of course, some people were dressed up as things that weren't so great. Anyways, like I said, we're gonna put our foot to the gas pedal here. So they both enter into the room and they start talking to everyone. They're like, "What's going on? What's happening? Are you this? How do you feel?" And then they explain basically traits that are pretty obvious, for a person who is Jason. He's like, I feel great. Or maybe we want to go even more intense and say that he can't speak because Jason can't speak. So maybe he says, sure, let's go with that. Anyways, we're accelerating. So again, they come to the realization of, oh shit, we're all turned into what we were being. They're in a club where they kind of piece together tools and build stuff. So I think they're not the most stupid people. So they probably just want to jump to the course that gets them to the place where they need to be the fastest. Cool. So one of the people in the group, in the party or whatever, to get together, they say, okay, well, we need to go to the hospital like now, because this isn't normal. Maybe they can help or fix. So then as a group, they start making their way over there. And the main dude, the demon guy, he's kind of trapped in his mind because he's like, I don't know what's happening, and I don't even know if I trust you guys. Like, you guys are monsters, Sorry, again, guys, the reason why this part is a bit, slower for me is because I'm piecing it together right now, because I haven't given that much thought. Because to me, I found, okay, they start here. The main guy gets shunned by his classmates, by his people, and more people, and then he finally meets him, expecting that this will be another thing where people shun him again, but the main character again is similar to him, so he doesn't. Also, the main character just wouldn't in general. We'll find that out later in the events. But anyways, so that's why I'm kind of not firing away right now, because I haven't given this much thought. But let's do our main dude dirty this way. Okay, so let's say they're migrating to that place, and all around them is going just havoc, just utter crazy nonsense. There's fucking weird winged people flying around. You can say succubus or whatever the fuck you want. You could say a bird woman. Who knows? The bird. Yeah, some Rick and Morty bird people. Whatever it is. Sure. Flying around. There's chaos. There's the shadows running. Maybe people. Whatever. There's wolves everywhere. People don't know what's going on. There's lightning going on. It's a cloudy, stormy day. It's very gloomy. Gloomy night. Anyways, so they're traversing, and of course, things are just going wrong because of people not handling their new transformation well, or new thing well. Let's say there's a person that was like, you know what, I'm going to dress up as a rhino, because fuck it. That's neat and goofy, and then they literally become a rhino person. Like a beast man. That's a whole other thing, by the way. There's beast man and there's werewolf. People. They're not the same fucking thing. Okay, because I want the were people. I want the beast people to just be kind of shitty in some senses. So we're just going with that for now. Anywho, so yeah, they're going through the course, and they're like, okay, well, let's cut behind this alley, because it'll get us right to the medical place where we need to be. They're progressing through the alley. And then they hear this kind of sparkle, kind of bling thing happen, and then it explodes. The upper part of where a big, what do you call it? What's the thing you climb on a big ass building, like a fire escape? The fire escape. There's this big explosion. And basically what the bling is some dumb witch. It's like, what the fuck is that? Boom! She blows up her whole room. Anyways, the whole thing comes crashing down. Everyone gets out of the way except the girl that gave him the eyes, these special contacts. That kind of, and it also is kind of anchoring him to these people, what's going on? Come with us, and all these things. So she gets pincered into there. Anyways, everyone's freaking out because there's other rubble falling down, and let's just increase the craziness. There's this giant raccoon man that's like a skyscraper, because fucking why not? And he's just walking towards them.
Side note, not a skyscraper, just kind of a big guy. Okay.
Which he's not a bad guy. He's just walking towards them on a side note. But he looks terrifying and menacing. So our second main character is like, oh shit. So he runs to save her, and he rips off the things. He's not like a heroic person, but he's like, this person's always been kind of good to me. Why wouldn't I help you? So then he tries to throw the rubble off of her. And then she gets up and she starts going. And I don't know if I want to do this because it's kind of, sure, let's do this. Oh, I feel kind of bad. But anyways, let's say she's running, and that one person's like right on top of him. Turns out this raccoon man was just a goofy police officer who was wearing a mask and just wanted to see if they were okay. Anyways, he's like sauntering towards them. And the girl that he saved, that they're like running behind, and like the group has already proceeded forward, like in terror. But they're running together, and she trips him. She kind of like in those Without a Paddle, that movie, or even just the idea of like, all I have to do is run faster than you, and I'll be okay. Except she takes an extra mile, and she literally just fucking trips him, very obviously. And he like flat out smashes his face in the ground, and he looks up and she's like, sorry, and just books it past, and he's kind of just like with his face like hurt as shit because he just ate shit and scraped his face onto the ground. He's kind of like, what? And then he passes out. And then we're still on this main character because our boy is just haul ass and running. And let's just say for this night, this specific night lasts like way longer, almost like it seems like it's permanently nighttime for 2 days. Let's just say that, just so there's more time to play with. Anyways, so yes, the dude smashes his face. I'm actually pretty happy with that. That's a pretty good jab, because it's like this dude who is jaded, doesn't trust people. There's one person that he's like, she's never led me wrong. She's a bitch. she's a not good person. So she drips his ass and he falls out, and he's like, fuck, like this person who I thought I could partner up with has just done me so dirty. Anyways, so anyways, he comes to and realizes that this raccoon, this giant fucking raccoon man, we could do anything. It could be a beaver, it could be whatever. I don't want to say bear. We could say bear man. I just think it's easier to find like a stupid like mask on a police officer, because he's just like, I'll buy this thing and just be kind of festive and puts it on his face while he's doing his patrol. Than a fucking bear mask on his face. I just see that like, you could go to a convenience store, grab the shitty mask, and throw it on your face, and then realize, oh fuck, because I'm a giant man, and the fact that I'm being a little animal, it's not gonna do that. There's no computing. So instead, in the monster world that the demigod is in, this form of being does exist, but it's a big ass giant beast man equivalent of whatever beast it is. Anyways, so he's picking him up, and the cop is actually just like pretty chill about the whole situation. He kind of just notices that he's hairy, and he's kind of like, I don't know what's going on, but I gotta help people. So anyways, the guy smashes his face in the ground. Our demon guy picks him up, just starts walking to another like infirmary, medical bay, because he sees that everyone's already like maxed out. So he starts walking the other way to like another kind of smaller place that he knows about. Anyways, so he goes to the smaller infirmary, hopefully I'm saying that right, the medical place. And he comes to while he's holding him, and he's like, oh fuck, are you gonna eat me? He's terrified. And anyways, he sets him down. This is honestly a bit of semantics. I could just say fuck it, he's here, but the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to really, and again, I could take way more time on like flushing out these even more, but for right now, again, I'm just trying to get to the place where we can start playing with different things. I'm sure you guys get the idea. You guys could come up with anything else as well and say like, hey, he got backstabbed in this way. You know, it's a lot more intricate, but sure, I'm fine with that. In fact, I'd probably do the same thing, but for right now, we're just trying to putt along. Anyways, so he brings him to the infirmary. After he like talks to the one dude, and he's like, no, I'm a cop. I don't know what happened either, but I wanted to check if you were okay. And he's like, oh, okay. So I shouldn't have like judged people that way. Nurse looks him over, sees that he is not damaged in the slightest, and he's like, what? I felt fucking hard on my face. And she's like, there's nothing wrong with you, besides your eyes. And then she keeps looking at his eyes, and she's like, they're different. Okay. And she moves over, and she's like, okay. And she just starts to walk away. And essentially what I'm getting at here is his what do you call it? His demonic powers fighting back, because of his like kind of, the more rage he kind of has, the more it exudes, but the more distrust, and basically when he feels negative or angry, he makes everyone else feel distrusting and chaotic. So they would make choices that they wouldn't normally make. Okay, so time to concoct another version of him getting shit on. Okay, where do you want to go from here? He definitely doesn't want to go back to that one girl because she did him dirty like that, and just dick move. He went back and saved her, and then she extra screwed him over. I don't really want to do another kind of. We could do that. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So he's in the chair. He just got looked over by the nurse. She had just had a weird thing with his eyes. And then he's like, what even happened? I just remember me falling on my face. And then he kind of thinks back to what went down. And he remembers that, like, you know, he went to save this person, and then he feels great hatred. Anyways, it starts building up. He's thinking about it. He's like, what the fuck? Like, this is so fucked up. This is wrong. Can't believe that they did that. And then before he even knows it, the person behind him, who's also sitting down, picks up like a pan and bashes it into someone's skull. And he's just like, what the fuck's going on? And then another person starts going rabid, and another person starts going angry, and he's just kind of like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is just a mess. And then soon he's just kind of like hiding back, like making sure to stay out of the way. And sure, let's do that. Yeah, he's hiding behind a curtain or whatever. And then let's say 15 minutes pass. The nurse comes back to check on what's happening because she heard some noise. Or another patient told her there was some noise coming down the hall. Anyway, she comes back. She sees that everybody is like brutally beaten, and then our demon boy runs forward and he's like, what the fuck happened? Everyone's sort of beating their head in, and she looks into his eyes, and because she was dressing up as, let's say, an angel, because she's a cute little nurse angel, sure. Anyway, she grabs him by the neck and says, you need to go. And let's say her eyes start glowing white, like this very pure white. Anyways, as she grabs his neck, it starts to burn him, and he's like, get the fuck off me. So he gets off, and he's like, all right, I'll go. But he's like, well, why? What happened? What happened in there? And then she explains to him that your eyes are menacing. Your eyes scream violence. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm the least violent person ever. I don't want anything like that. But then she's like, get the hell out. And she even calls him a monster, let's say. So then he's like, fuck. And then he's on his own walking through the streets, and he's like, what the fuck am I gonna do? This sucks. But then he sees a group of people, and he walks up to them, and he notices them in disgust. And the reason why this is because there's some people who are like under. Basically, it's to deal with a power rating. So in MMOs, there's a power rating that basically says when an enemy is under your level, they're affected by a certain trait. It could be terror or whatever. So when he encounters this new group of people, and he's like, hey, mind if I come along? Like, I don't really have, I'm alone out here. It's just, you know, I don't have any claws like you do, or any fangs like you do. Mind if I tag along? And the one dude, like the leader of the group, looks at him and shoves him really hard. He's like, get the fuck away from me. You're disgusting, and spits at him, and then everyone's kind of joins in as like this just hate train towards him. And he's like, and he fucking gets out of there because he's feeling like he's gonna get his ass beat. And then he starts running and running and running. And he just keeps running, and eventually he's kind of in the middle of nowhere on this kind of weird road, and he's just breathing heavy. Now, to be honest, forget about most of that shit. I mean, it kind of matters, but not as much as you think. I just wanted to give reasons why people were shunning him, and it's because of his terror ability. But if someone does not have any fear for the monster or like anything, so basically if someone has no fear of a monster, then they don't get affected by that. And our main character, he loves monsters, so he's not affected by it at all. So that's why I kind of wanted to apply there being like this reason why people shun him, but also there being this reason why they were kind of meant to be friends. Anyways, but we're not going to get into that. That's not what the main character is. That's not what the demon guy's position is. He's not like about terror buffs or anything like that. Because he, again, loves forging things, making things. And we'll talk about why I think that's such a cool idea and what I got inspiration from. If you were to call this like an MMO, the MMO class that's always the crafter or the person that enhances armor is like never talked about. And I watched an anime recently. It's not perfect, but it does deal with that, and it kind of gives some cool perspectives on like that kind of build, which I thought would be really cool if that was his position. Anyways, I gotta go use the washroom, but then we'll be back and we'll be talking about our main dude. I feel like that one was a bit messy, like especially for me having to kind of like think on the spot about what's happening. Like all the other ones I've had plenty of time to think about. I literally just thought about how he got dicked over, although I am proud of myself about him getting absolutely wrecked by that cat girl. Anyways, but the whole weirdness about the nurse medical room, I bet there could be something better there for him getting screwed over again. Or shunned. That's the thing. I want him to feel like he's alone, which is very rude and messed up, but it makes sense for later on. Anyways, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm just including this at the halfway point because, oh my god, was it a bad call? Was it a tremendously bad call to film 2 podcasts at the same time? Because that's not taxing at all, and my brain capacity was melting because I was trying to like do a good job about representing things. But one of the things I want to quickly run by you guys is I think I'll stop doing that kind of thing because I feel like at certain points it comes across cringy, but also unnecessary. So again, I think the way we'll do this, and I think it's probably a lot better for us to do it this way, is, and I don't get me wrong, it's not like I want to ever like go into like the perception and dialogue of the characters, but I feel like it felt like a fanfic at a certain point there. Whereas what I would like to do instead is tell you guys the beats that we need to hit and then how we're going to hit those. So again, what I should have done, I think, at the beginning, but I didn't because, I was super excited and wanted to film this, is I should have explained to you guys where we're going and why we're going there. So essentially, and I kind of did it in spurts, just talking to myself, trying to keep myself on track. So our demon boy, who I'm not going to give a name, as you guys can see, I'm being very specific and not giving them names because it doesn't matter to me. To me, what matters is the things that they do and the ways that they do them. The name doesn't matter to me. The way they look doesn't even matter to me that much. Besides, at certain beats, like what do you call it? You'll have to forgive me because I'll sometimes say Crowley because again, the main demon guy, he's based on that idea because I really like that personality in that show of this kind of like suave demon, but also he's relentlessly fair and somewhat good if the good is attached to his friend that is also good. So yeah. That's like the catalyst for how he is sometimes kind, is if his friend is involved with it and then he says, sure, because he's involved with you, I'll, help. But only because I'm helping you, not because I'm helping everyone else. And yeah, so if you ever hear me say Crowley, it's because the character is very much based on that. In a way, there are definitely things that I want to like diverge, but for right now, it's basically very similar. So if you guys hear me say Crowley, that's what's up. But again, neither of them really have names. Cool. So again, the whole point is for our demon boy to arrive at certain points. So essentially, I need to get this character at a point in which he feels abandoned by the world, as well as frustrated with his nature, his power now, his new self. And specifically, the reason why is because I want this character to feel like when everything seems against him, when everything around him seems to be falling apart, and him to be utterly lost, there is this little crazy psycho person, our main character, who is, I say main character, they're both main characters, but still. The reason why the main character, because basically I wanted to create a system. How do I put it? Okay, so in a lot of stories, and we'll get to a point when this makes more sense because we're still building off stuff right now to get to a nice stopping point, which is going to be a long way in the future, by the way. It's definitely not going to be part 3 anyways. But essentially, I want to get to a place where it makes sense why people are drawn to our main character. Now, the reason why is because in a lot of shows I watch, there's no reason why people take interest in the main character. It's just because he is the main character. He doesn't really have any facets or traits that make him valued in the world. It's just kind of like, sure, why not that person interact with you? It's like, it almost feels like a string of fate rather than an understanding of why people are drawn to him. And essentially, the main character is a person who not only loves monsters, so he's not terrified by people. He doesn't believe the hate of monsters as well. So in the future, they'll find books that talk about monsters, and our main character rejects anything negative that is just thrown at them. Instead, he takes it as a subliminal kind of knowledge. Like, why would someone come to that reasoning? If they were hateful, they would come up with their own reasoning, but why would that information be there in the first place? And then I'll work off that. But anyways, I want our main character to basically be this accepting thing. This person who accepts you and tries to help you move through it and accept what you are. Because that's kind of the overarching tone of the story that I want to tell, is accepting your past, accepting what you are now, and moving forward with those things. And the main character very much is that. He's kind of, to a certain degree, dopey in that sense, because he doesn't care. Whereas everyone else is freaking out that they're this or they're that, our main character is to some extent excited that he is those things because he was trapped in this world always, but finally it's actually happened to him. So that's kind of the way I wanted it to make sense, and the reason why people are drawn to him is because he's not afraid of anybody, and he's hopeful and he's kind, and those things. And Crowley is quite the opposite. Crowley is, or the demon boy, Crowley, whatever, is very much the opposite. Is this opposite kind of force of like, I want people to stay away from me. I don't even know what's going on. I want to make sure I have a footing, a way to survive before I start doing anything else. But anyways, so yeah, I need Crowley to experience the feeling of being alone, like I said, of being left behind and all these things. So basically, the way I drew up it in my head, especially when I was just making this story in my mind, is, okay, so here's this dude, and he experiences he's been shit on all of Hell Night, basically, or for the first bit of Hell Night, he's been shit on. He's kind of beaten down. He feels like, I'm just screwed. Like, not only is this interacting in a horrible way, and yeah, but then eventually he meets up with our main character that is super, like, opposite of everyone, where he's not only is he making sense, but he's helpful and kind, and he doesn't seem scared, whereas everyone else does. So that's why he finds great value in our main character, and they kind of accept each other and go fucking do some stuff. Also, side thing, although this is not a yaoi thing, sure, do what you want, but that's not where we're going. It's friendship things. Like, hey, brother, with you to the end kind of things. But if you want to do that, then sure, again, this is your world, go ham. But not quite where we're aiming. But yes, the reason why I make the story like this is because if at any time I don't feel happy with anything, I can go back between one of those instances. So basically, I put a bunch of pikes like here. I need him to be here, but there are these two events that happened. Well, if I don't like any of these events, all I have to do is come back and find out a better way. Find out a better thing, whatever. I've never taken any writing classes or anything like that, but this is just the way that I found the most success over the years of constantly thinking about stories, and making them myself and all these things. That's what I've come up with that works. That way, if I need to go back and interchange something, I don't have to break down the whole thing. I just have to change this event. Cool. Anyways, so, yes, all of these events happen. I'm actually pretty proud of myself for coming up with all of this on the spot. That's also why I wanted to almost redo this whole part, is because it was so messy, because all of this shit that you guys just heard was me coming up on the spot, because again, all I knew is that I needed our boy to end up here, and have these bad things happen so that he has that emotional impact when he gets there. So anyways, yes, moving on, because we got to start moving quite quickly. Okay, so let's handle this differently. Okay, so we need to get our main characters. Now we're looking through the eyes of the wolf again. Cool, our wolf boy. We need our main character to have two things happen. He needs to recognize the world quickly, which is pretty easy considering his backstory. Cool. The second thing is he needs to accept insanity, and pick up a relic. That's basically accepting insanity to a certain degree. And then we need him to be out of the place that he picks up the relic and meets up with our friend on the road. Cool, so that's the benchmarks that we need to fucking aim for. Okay, cool. So this is what I've come up with for what's happened. Essentially, and this is why I was laughing at that certain point, because basically, and I kind of should mention this about the demon dude as well. Both of our main characters, the demon, the wolf, and to a certain degree the necromancer. Your monster instinct, or whatever you want to call it, is if you listen, if you're starting to accept that part of yourself, will start talking to you almost, not like vocally, but they'll, like, for instance, while our demon dude was going up to that group, he was feeling the urge to leave, like, immensely quickly, even though he wanted to try to, group up and not be on his own. He felt like it was going to be bad from the start. And that's because his demon picks up on the what is it called? I'm blanking out on the name. The intent of others, which is very much the same thing with the wolf. And there's this other passive thing that I've kind of touched on, but it's basically relics. These things that help, or at least the first relic that you attain, will help you decode your monster, so you're not just lost. And it's basically my way of going into a direction of kind of like an MMO, because it basically looks like a skill tree. But the way that I found to do this in kind of like a rule of the world, is the more that you accept and just follow your instinct, follow your monster's instinct, it will lead you to this thing, this understanding for oneself. It's almost the monster trying to extend the olive branch and be like, okay, You accepted me. Now here's what I am. So there's nothing that activates more on instinct than a werewolf. So that's why we also had him go berserk, is because I needed our main character to arrive at a location fast, because I didn't want to spend a lot of time shooting the shit around how he got there. And also I feel like it's a nice narrative beat because of two things. Most relic places have a bunch of enemies around them to kind of help you prove that you're not just fucking about. But since he's a werewolf, he goes there, kills a bunch of shit, and he wakes up. But then I want him to go basically partner with the one dude, and then they go get a relic. But then he doesn't realize that there's monsters there, so it's a shock to both of them.
Like enemy monsters.
Anyways, backtrack. So our main character wakes up in this, the way I see it is a destroyed church, kind of like a weird church, because we're hitting the necromancy part, and that's something I didn't explain either. So again, the reason why I was laughing a little bit or chuckling in my head, my dumb stupid brain who's super giddy about stories, I really like the idea of, since the wolf is acting purely on instinct, he thinks he's going towards his relic, the relic that would help understand, or the main character to understand the werewolf. But instead, it's the necromancer, like, feeding him whispers, like, yeah, take him to mine, take him to mine, you dumb dog, go that way. So then, anyways, the werewolf is rampaging, and I'm not sure if I went into it, but I wanted the werewolf to feel powerful. Like when he jumps off the ground, the concrete below him cracks, and you hear that just force of him take off. You can't even see him because he's just this black shadow flying super, super quick. I want this werewolves in this world to be fucking badass, especially if they're one of the ones that are straight up changed. They're not like, hey, I grew some hair and I got some strength and claws.
Hi guys, me here in editing. Yeah, that bit was actually tangible and not the worst. So yeah, here's my original thoughts explaining the whole him running to the place. Also, among other things.
Okay, yes, fucking finally. I did give not as much love or thought to our demon boy, but I gave a lot of thought to our monster main character, or a werewolf main character. So, not a werewolf, necromancer. That vibe is what we're messing with. That's why I'm like, I don't know what to call him, a lich or necromancer, kind of like a mixture of both, let's say. He's a fourth hybrid. I don't know. I don't want to go into that. There's 2 hybrids. You can be 2, not 3, not 4, 2. Okay. But also, there could be plenty of monsters that I don't even know about. That's something I should have mentioned. If you guys know any monsters that like you think would be cool in the world that I just don't know about, leave it in the comments. Although that's the thing. Like, I'm sure somebody could like link me to like a bestiary of like cool ideas for monsters. But then they're always like awful. They're like, but they live off of the souls of mortals. And I'm like, what does that mean? Well, they fuck you to death. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a whole nother story kind of vibe. So can we not do this right now? Anyways, so our boy is running. And he's running. The wolf is just booking it through town, surprisingly not killing anybody, but is causing a fucking mess, because I wanted you guys to have a good idea of like the pure force of this wolf. It's not like a little baby werewolf. He's like running on the sides of buildings like it's nothing, like chewing through concrete as his claws dig into the ground, and as he jumps and leaps, he like just fucking flies. And there's nothing but like this relenting force that's unexplained about how strong this thing is. Every time it kicks off the ground, you can feel like just that power of like the concrete crack under him, and just that yes. Anywho, yeah, so essentially I made a joke about this in the beginning, I think, or maybe it was the end of the last part, but essentially the wolf was being kind of trained like a little doggy to, let's say, a conduit. Because that's something that I talked about kind of in the past at the beginning. But basically, Hell Night's going on, or whatever you guys want to call it. I assume you guys would find a better name for it, but Hell Night's going on. And essentially, there are like these specific points of interest within the town. And they're all kind of made for certain people. Like, so if you have a certain trait or a certain ability or a certain kind of monster-ism, if you trust in your instincts, in what you are now, it will pull you towards that thing. And that thing can further help you understand, but not only understand, but survive. So that's kind of the underlying theme here. But anyways, our main character doesn't know that. But the monster knows something, and because the werewolf acts completely on instinct, it's drawn to these. But because he is not just a werewolf, he is also a necromancer, a lich, or whatever you want to call it. So the lich is basically feeding the wrong signal to the werewolf, because basically they get both signals. It's signaling to the werewolf about this special place. So of course that's why the werewolf is just going nuts. So our main character wakes up in this kind of abandoned church. And the first thing our character does is he starts to get up and he sees that his hands are bone. He starts to try to wipe away the bone, whatever. I want our character to basically freak out and kind of have to be faced with what's going on. What am I? And again, the main character, all he really remembers is that he experienced this great pain, and then he seen this dot in the sky, and then bang. He doesn't really remember everything else because he's kind of not wanting to remember because it's kind of a painful experience. I think you'd want to kind of keep that a bit hidden. But anyways, he basically thinks like this is insane, nothing's making sense. But because of the way that he transforms, he doesn't tear his clothes because again, this like black tar envelops him, like kind of like the wolf. Envelops him. It doesn't burst out of his flesh. So basically, he still has his phone. So then he realizes his hands are all freaked out. He remembers kind of what happens. Anyways, he reaches for his phone to see what the heck's going on in the world. So then he opens his phone and then he sees, I don't know if you want to go what time you guys want this to be in, but sure, let's say Twitter exists, and he sees a bunch of people just flipping out on Twitter or on any social media. Maybe there's an Amber Alert or some sort of like something that says something's happening, stay indoors, everything's gone to shit, whatever. So anyways, he sees that and he opens it up, and then he gets and again, we could come back to this and make it more of a gradual understanding, or maybe not. Maybe we just want our characters to kind of just fully depend on his weird obsession with monsters to be like, okay, it's everyone's a monster now. But I don't really want to do that just yet. And in fact, I kind of like the idea of him basically seeing everything, seeing all this information of like people saying, it looks like there's vampires, looks like there's werewolves, what's going on? And in his head, he kind of puts it together like, oh wait, I got bone hands. I know I have a beast Sherry. He's a super nerd about monsters, so he's like, oh okay, I'm a necromancer or a lich or an undead or something. So he comes to that realization really quick because of his weird past knowledge. Anyway, so he kind of is like, oh, okay. And again, the main character, I wanted to kind of be shell-shocked. Like he's much as he's in like this weird state of like, okay. Okay. It just kind of moves forward. Like, I don't just moving forward. So anyways, our character finally like realizes that he's in this weird like dark, not a cemetery. We're not doing that, but kind of like a broken down church. Anyways, after he's done looking around, he hears this horrible monstrous scream out in the distance, and he's like, "Fuck this!" So then he beelines her into the kind of broken down church. And he enters in, and it's kind of all broken down, kind of a bit of a mess. But then he looks to his left, and he sees that there's these lit candles surrounding this kind of old dusty mirror with this pot. I haven't been to a church in fucking ages, but I assume it's holy water, whatever you want, something. So anyways, he walks up to the thing, wipes away the glass, and weirdly, as he parts the glass, he notices that he has orange eyes. And he's like, well, and him being a dumb nerd who knows a lot about monsters, like, wait, I've heard no necromancer or whatever have orange eyes. It's usually always some sort of offbeat green, maybe blue if you're doing this like pure undead whatever priest, sure, but never orange. So then he's kind of just puzzled a slight bit, and he's like, okay. And again, this is stuff that I'd come back and I'd probably give more thought to if I was really, really wanting to write this down. But right now, this is kind of just, again, trying to give you guys a playground, as well as I don't want to fucking think about it right now, dude. There's some things where I'm like, yes, fuck yeah. Other times I'm like, all right, let's move on. We'll come back to it. So yes, destroyed church and all that. He sees that his eyes are different, and then at this point he kind of puts both hands over the bowl of holy water or just water, whatever it is, and then he kind of takes a deep breath and he tries to remember what happened, like what actually happened in that moment. So like after he's indoors, feels a little bit more comfortable, wants to kind of dig into his memory. So he's like, okay. And at this point, he starts understanding that, okay, he remembers he wore the gloves. That makes sense that the hands are that way. But then he also remembers he wore the glasses, the contacts. And he's like, oh, or not the glass, the mask, bone mask, and the contacts. And he's like, okay, well, what about those? Why didn't that happen and this didn't? And then he remembers the feeling of being like cold, and feeling like he was dying, and then feeling like he needed to focus on anything. And alas, he turned over on his side, and out his window he saw the moon. And at this point, I would love if the moment he recognized that he looked at the moon, if his eyes shocked open because he seen a wolf face like jump at him, almost kind of like this thing that's he didn't even recognize kind of happens, and it kind of shocks him out of that weird memory, trip down memory lane. I don't know if our main character knows yet that he's, this thing. Although I definitely think our character is uncomfortably okay with him being an undead and just accepting this and moving on. Anyways, so he kind of gets up and he hears something out of the corner of his ear, or just coming off in the distance. He hears these whispers, and he's like, okay, there's something in here. Oh, Jesus. Anyways, he goes and he starts making his way to it. And of course, he sees right by, like, kind of, if you're at church, the preacher speaks at the front of the church, and there's like this podium. Well, right on that podium, there's this, how do I describe it? It's this, the way I see it, could be anything, but to me, his relic is this kind of, I don't know, circle thing that is this gold ring wrapped around this green stone. And it's got these designs in it. And the main character, the closer he gets to this thing, he hears them louder and louder. And eventually, at some point, he gets like 4 feet from it, and he's like, "What am I doing? Like, this is crazy. This is nuts. There's no way in hell like, why did I even come in here? Oh, I was trying to get away from some sort of monster scream. But still, like, why am I? This is creepy. This is awful. I want him to have that realization. Anyways, he says this is nuts, maybe not aloud, maybe just in his head. Anyways, he turns around and starts walking away. And then the main character thinks to himself, wait, if this is true, and we are this thing, this lich, whatever I was dressing up as, isn't that what we've always kind of wanted? Isn't that, to some extent, kind of awesome? And then at that point, he looks back at the thing, and he notices that the voices have stopped being like a scream and more are now just a hum and a whisper. Because the thing I'm getting at is, to me, it's really important that the whole reason why these artifacts exist in the first place is there to be this thing that happens when you accept what you are. So the more you accept this part of yourself, whatever monster part it is, the more this artifact becomes kinder, and the monster inside of you almost says, okay, good. Now that you're taking a step in this direction, I'll help you. So that's kind of the thing, is that the minute that the main character saw a good outlook on being a monster or being this necromancer thing, lich, whatever you want to call it, is the minute that things cool down. And at this point, he's like, okay, well, there's nothing crazier that can happen tonight. Boy, is he wrong. Anyways, I'm sorry. He goes up to the thing, and he picks it up. And then shockingly, all the voices, boom, gone as soon as he makes contact with his fingers. And he picks it up and he looks at this giant kind of like stone jewelry, whatever you want. And he looks at it, and before he knows it, almost like a branch, like roots moving through soil. He sees these beautiful tethers, whatever you want to call them, branch out as he's holding it, and he's wondering what the hell is going on. And then eventually he starts seeing a bunch of these little words and these little things all around. And of course, we're basically getting at the point that I talked to you guys beforehand, but this is him discovering a relic and discovering that this is basically a skill tree. It's a way it has a bunch of tooltips below everything, telling you what you are, what your passives are, and all these things. So yes, the main character sees it and he's like, okay. And again, at this point, I kind of want to, and I feel like I may go back and change some things, but I think I like the idea of our main character. That's, of all the superpowers that he has, the one thing that really did do good for him is the fact that he is this. He was always this outcast who loved monsters, movies, and all these things. And even more so, I cranked the dial on that, specifically within some things in his story. But yes, I like that idea. So that basically, whereas everyone else is going crazy, he accepts it and then to a certain degree loves it. so again, he sees this thing and he's like, okay. And you start like, 'cause at least this way he has information, so he knows what's happening, he knows what it is. So at this point, he fully believes that he is a lich. Or again, I don't know, something that I'm thinking of an undead that can summon the summoner, but not entirely tied to undead summoning, if that makes any sense. So let's just say lich for right now. Anyway, so he's like, God damn, okay. And the reason why I also want to do that, we'll talk about it later. Let's not do this. Yeah. Anyways, so boom, main character, he arrived on scene, he addressed the insanity within the world, and then he attained the relic. Boom, bam, we're making things happen. Again, we should definitely come back and clean this up when we've given it more thought. But for right now, we're just kind of putting along. Cool. So right now, the main character, he basically just thinks he's a wraith. That's the one thing. Boom. Or lich, wraith, whatever. Fucking, they're not the same thing, but they're the same thing. Anyways, at this point, the main character is excited, but he's also, he feels like he's not doing anything by just staying in one place. Like, it's bad. Even all of his other instincts, whether it be from the beast or whatever, are saying you shouldn't stay here. Now, the reason why that is because that scream he heard was another were person or whatever. I don't know, let's say mauling some person, just going nuts. So he's like, no, we should leave. We should get out of here. This is bad. Danger. Leave. So anyways, he leaves the place. And the other thing that I wanted to get at is, again, I mentioned it kind of passively, but he thinks that there are these locations where these artifacts are, and you just go in and take it. But no, the reason why I also wanted him to basically be a wolf and get him there is because the wolf got to the location, eviscerated all the undead that were present, and then like he basically woke up and he's like, oh, we're just in this weirdo place with no enemies anywhere. But his wolf just destroyed everything. Anyways, so at this point, the main character starts moving because again, he hears screams and maybe he just books out of there because he's like, fuck this. Even though I'm a lich, I know nothing, and I don't know anything. I want to survive, so let's leave. He runs, and it was kind of, let's say it was at a location that's kind of just on a outer acreage church kind of thing, and he gets back in town with relative speed. Cool. And let's say he's on the sidewalk and he's proceeding forward, and he sees another person make contact with him, like look at him, and the one person kind of backs up and kind of rushes away, and then he realizes, oh shit, like I have these glowing orange eyes, and I got bone hands, and I'm wearing a t-shirt, and oh no, and I got pointy teeth. Sure, let's say that. I wasn't sure about that. Sure, let's say he has giant canines, which is why it throws him off a little bit, because he's like, oh, I'm a one thing and not the other thing. But anyways, right now he just, at least he knows he's a lich. Anyway, so our main character is like, oh shit, like I look like more menacing with these eyes than other people. So anyways, he pulls his hair down, let's say that. Or maybe let's say that. He pulls his hair down. And he also kind of like starts hiding, like tries to hide his face. Anyways, he's proceeding forward, and as he's making his way into town, he starts seeing more people on the sidewalk or sitting on vehicles or whatever. And he starts getting these weird feelings of like, oh, I shouldn't be anywhere near you. Oh, that's not good. Basically what I'm getting at is the wolf inside of him is telling him, this person, that person right there, bad shit. He's giving off bad vibes. You want to stay away from him. His intention is not good. Stay away. So that's why I want our main character to basically start like feeling trapped and like he needs to move. Anyways, our main character proceeds ducking through alleys and being generally like, oh god, everything seems so like nails on a chalkboard kind of vibes whenever I'm near certain people. So anyways, that's why he's bobbing and weaving through town. He didn't really ever have a chance to look at his thing, which is what he's trying to get, like a pocket of time to where he can actually look at this gem without anyone seeing him. Anyways, as he's running around town, he finally finds himself on this maybe a deserted-ish road, kind of out of the way. And as he's walking down this road, he hears this howl. This werewolf howl. And basically what I'm getting at with this, it's a dominance howl. And our main character is a high-powered wolf. So when he hears his dominance call, he gets pissed. And his wolf is almost like, "What, bitch?" like two dogs barking at each other. Like, "It's my house, it's my house," that kind of nonsense. Anyways, so yes, the main character start basically as soon as he hears this call, he feels, well, just for some visual stuff, black veins start crawling up his neck, and he starts cuffing his ears as if he's just got shell shocked, very loud, that kind of thing. Anyways, the main character starts losing himself, and he finds himself stumbling on the road. He was on the sidewalk, and now he stumbled onto the road. Okay, and what do you know? A van out of nowhere is going really, really fast, flying down the hill. Who knows? Maybe this dude's, I don't know, whatever. He turned into a goblin, and he can't touch the pedals, and fucking he's been going for 10 miles. I don't know. Anyways, regardless, he's about to get smashed by this truck, but an unlikely hero pulls him aside, and is like, what the fuck is that about? And again, this is where things got a little cringe for me last time when we were making this video or this podcast, because I started going into their dialogue. I don't think that's cool. It ends up being very weird. But essentially that's where we've gotten to our destination. We were here. Our wolf boy recognized that what happened. Weirdly, very strangely, accepted what happened, accepted this relic, got the fuck out of there, and met up with our other main character. Cool. They will not separate for a while now, so we will not need to do this weird fucking coming back together bullshit. Cool. Anyways, so at this point, it could be whatever you want in terms of how they kind of group up. But for me, the way that I see it take place is, again, he pulls them out of the way. They both kind of fall on their ass. And then our main character finally, the stinging howl starts to stop, and the main character is kind of just like, what the fuck was that? Like, that wasn't, like, that felt like internal. That felt like I wanted to fight back. I wanted to find that thing. What do you call it? Our demon boy is like, what the hell was that? You're gonna get yourself killed. And then our demon boy also realizes that, oh shit, because he's pissed off at how people treated him, which is just kind of like an ever accomplishing cycle where people reject him, so he's pissed. But then whenever he's pissed, he exudes more of that demonic kind of presence, and it increases the cycle. So yeah, he kind of backs up in like waiting for another person to kind of run at him. And he sees that you're kind of just fine. Like, you don't, and also because of what I mentioned about both the demon and the wolf having this like ability to understand intention, he doesn't feel that way at all with him. Which means, of course, the demon's like, this guy's fine. He's not planning on hurting you or anything negative. He's cool, that kind of thing. So anyways, he notices that that's not the case, and let's say he asks him, our demon dude, he's like, you're not gonna rip my head off? You're not gonna scream at me or go ballistic? And our dude, still trying to keep his eyes kind of out of the way, speaks up and says, why would I do that? And at this point, I kind of want, let's have a kind of a rapid progression through this, because I gotta get out of here real quick. Let's say they both kind of sit down and they're like, okay, well, you're not coming after me. Do you know what's going on? That kind of thing. Have you heard anything? And then maybe our main character explains to him, oh, have you seen what's going on your phone? And then the main dude's like, fuck, I completely forgot about my phone entirely. Anyways, maybe they look through and they hear all the news reports about what's going on. And then the demon person's like, this is just a mess. This sucks. What's even going on? And then our main character talks up and he's like, I think it's pretty obvious. And he explains exactly what's happened. People who are dressed up as what they are now that. It doesn't seem like everyone's gained the negative traits of those things, just the abilities, so to speak. And then we're trying to accelerate. He confides into the one dude about being a demon, and then the one dude, the main character, our weird encyclopedia of monsters, instead of basically being like, ew, you're a demon, oh no, fear, instead he gets excited, and the main character is like, oh, that's fucking awesome. Do you have this? And then sometimes he's like, yes, and then do you have this? No. Do you have this? And he basically is trying to find out what he is, or what mythos this is following. And again, like monsters used to exist in the past, so that's what all these weird bestiaries kind of play off of. So some of it's true, most of it's not. But anyways, our main character's like, and it's kind of heartwarming because the one dude, the demon person, is under the impression of like, oh shit, everyone who finds this out hates me, and anyone who doesn't hates me by default because of the presence effect. Anyway, so the dude narrows in on what he is and what his traits are, and he basically comes up with this, and he says that you're the kind of demon, or at least demons it seems, you buff whatever you do. So this is kind of the whole playing into like the mechanics of the world, but when it comes to demons, they have this passive traits, sure. But what they mainly do is they will translate all of that power into whatever they do. So, say there's like a gunslinger demon or a torturer demon or something, whatever it is. It will transfer all of that into that. A swordsman demon or a forgotten whatever, doesn't matter. So whatever thing you do, it will fall into that. But then the main demon dude's like, well, I didn't give myself any sort of prefix. I never said this or that. And then the main character's like, well, I think it would find a way. I think it would find something. And the demon dude stops, thinks about it for a sec, and he says, oh no. And he reaches into his, let's say he has his phone. He was looking at something. And he says, okay. And he proceeds to transform his phone, let's say, into a very, very high technical blowtorch lighter kind of thing. A lighter. And then the main character's Again, the main character, I want to give off the vibe of loving this, like being way on the other side. Like everyone's freaking out. He's in Wonderland to an extent. So he's like, "That's fucking awesome! This is amazing! That's such a cool ability." And of course, our demon boy is quite upset. He's not exactly thrilled that this is his power or thing, that he can just change. Like out of all the abilities, strength, swordsman, that would be great. No, I can make a lighter. This is stupid kind of thing. Anyways, and again, I want there to also be like, if I were to write dialogue, I would of course have our main character, I don't know if the conversation was him talking about what happened to him and them kind of going down memory lane, and the demon dude telling him how this girl tripped him, and then him being like, oh, that's so fucked up, and him being like, I know, right? I want to go save them. By the way, the reason why I did that is because to me it kind of plays with this idea of just because you save someone doesn't mean they'll save you, but also doesn't mean that person handles fear the same way you do. So the fight or flight thing, maybe she just feels flight, and it's not that she's a negative person, it's just that she is like, I want to live, and yeah, boom, and does this horrible thing. But still, it's kind of what I wanted to play with that kind of tripping thing. It wasn't just like, fucking die. It was supposed to be this kind of moment that kind of flips a trope on its head and all that stuff. Anyways, so yes, they bond as well through like going over the insane stuff that's happened to them that night. And then I think the demon dude asks why, why you're not affected by this what he called aura that he gives off that turns everyone kind of corrupted or whatever. Let's say the main character says, well, undead are typically void of any terror effects because, you know, they're undead. They're not like, they don't feel any sort of fear, because what's to fear when you don't feel anything? And the demon's like, oh, so you don't feel anything? So you're undead. And then the main character's like, well, I don't know. I don't think so. I have a heartbeat. That goes against that. Yeah. And then he's like, well, what happened when you turned? And like, what happened when the thing happened? And then he explains to him, oh, well, I seen this white dot in the sky, and then everything kind of went dark. And then the one demon dude's like, white dot in the sky? You mean the moon? So wait, are you like, and then they piece it together through that, of like the main dude being like, well, yeah, that white dot's the moon. It's a full moon tonight. Yeah, what's going on? I want the main character to have an idea of that, but also I want there to be this cute moment where he basically comes to that realization of the demon dude helps him find out and triangulate that, oh god, I turned into a wolf, but wait, this doesn't make any sense. Maybe people can be two things. Maybe they're other hybrids. And then the main character puts his hands on his face and looks down, and the demon dude's like, listen, man, there could be worse things. And then the main character like pulls his hands down and just has the biggest shit-eating grin. And he's like, that's so fucking cool. I'm two things. And at this point, the demon dude's like, is this dude fucking insane? This dude's fucked in the head. I don't need this in my life. And then I think this is where I'll kind of try to build in the next part. if you guys would be so kind to, hang out with me and listen to me ramble more. But I want to kind of get at that our main character at this point, after, again, I really wish, even if I wrote a script of like the dialogue back and forth, that'd be better. But essentially, we need to get our main characters to go find a relic for our craftsman, our demon dude who has found himself with the prefix of craftsman, which is actually really, really strong. And we'll get into why. Yeah, I'm not sure if I mentioned it yet. Maybe I did. But basically, yeah, I think it's amazing. I think it'd be such a cool kind of thing if this main, the demon dude was that. Like what a craftsman would be in this world. And powerful, you know what I mean? Like in Shield Hero, where Shield Hero is like the least picked class ever. Well, what would happen if there was a person that could craft things and it not be weak, and in fact it'd be stupidly strong? Like this person forges weapons for gods, kind of strong, and of course he needs someone that can wield such weapons, and yeah, then that's kind of the dynamic there. At least that's what I like. Where we're going. But anyways, in the next part, hopefully I'll look back at this and I'll remember that we're gonna start right on the premise of, okay, at this point, he feels like he can open up to the one person enough to be like, okay, well, if you're not gonna say anything and you feel lost right now, because this demon does, he's like, great, I have this shitty power and no way to really understand how to use it, and it sucks. And then our main character jumps in and he's like, well, there is a way, at least I think, for you to understand it. And then he pulls out his little rock and he tells him what he sees, and basically that he sees 1,000 skills and what everything does and all these things. And yeah, that's where we're gonna end it. But basically, just to give you an understanding what's gonna happen, he's gonna say, okay, well, I need one of these, and then the main character's gonna be like, I'm gonna get you one of those. So then they go and get one of those, and then they go and find out that, oh shit, these relics are guarded, and oh god. But then we're gonna get into our main character having a slight buff, which is because he has inherited DNA, he gains some of the combat experience of that, but not much. But there are other characters that I want to introduce. What was that? Was that a spider falling? It was awful. Like a spider just falling from the sky. Gross. Anyways, yes. So yeah, it's inherited combat experience for certain people that do evolve through DNA like that, but it's our main character gets a touch, not too much. Now we're trying not to like stack our main character yet. But this is where we're gonna start commencing the stacking of these two dudes being kind of just okay, but because they made the most of and they accepted who they are and they made the most of Hell Knight. They are going to be getting rewarded for that greatly by going and finding these artifacts that give them a giant leg up on the rest of the world and everything that's going to come at them. But also, I don't think you guys are like, yeah, we're going to take a twist at a certain point. After Hell Knight ends, we're going to gamify a lot more. Yeah, and it's definitely not going to go into the apocalypse kind of realm, just to let you know. So if you guys are making that story, and it's not going to be anywhere near mine, But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Again, yeah, I feel so much better when it's start to finish, me just rambling. But also I think that's the other thing I'm getting in my head about. I want to do the perfect representation for the world I'm making in my head. And I feel like sometimes I don't articulate it the best I can, but I feel like that may just that's just the podcast. That may just be in the next podcast. I have to come back and do some busy work, We're just trying to build this thing. We're not trying to be perfect, but I feel like I'm kind of pushing forward with the intention of everything being perfect. And me having to basically just read you guys a story, which is not the case. Not that I don't ever want to make a story, but just to say that not quite yet. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Regardless, this shirt was a mistake because it's so bright. But there is a subscribe button right to my right, as well as 2 videos further that way. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this, and hopefully you guys have had your imagination stoked just a touch. Thank you so much for your time, and goodbye.